Hey everybody, welcome to I'm Not Crying, You're Crying, the show about anything and everything because it's our show. I'm here with Juan.
Hey.
And Jay.
Hey everybody.
And I'm Sean, and this is our theme music. Oh, hey, he's back finally this week. But you know what? I got a remix. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's Dennis, not Juan. Fuck you, Juan.
Yeah, it's great. I love that theme song. I think I'm going to keep it.
Is he still alive? Because I know he's pretty old.
I mean, he's no older than you. But, you know, before we get into...
Yes, he is older than me.
Okay, before you take us off track already, Juan, I'm going to just play the theme music so we can get off track later. Thank you. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to I'm Not Crying, You're Crying, Season 4, Episode 9. And guess what, Juan?
What?
I'm gonna ride that pony that this is the penultimate episode. That thing I learned way back in Season 1.
We're back at that shit?
Yeah, we're back at that shit again. I learned a word and I'm gonna keep using it until someone teaches me another word. Jay, you got any more words for me?
Nope, that was it.
Oh, goddamn. Okay, well.
Okay, I'm offended. Why not ask me if I have any new words for you?
Because the only words that you've taught everyone is fuck you.
Yes, fuck you and blah, 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 blah.
and blah, 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 blah.
Those are the only things you taught me, Juan. That's the only things you taught me. Yeah, so we're in the penultimate episode. We have one more episode before the season finale. You don't even read the show notes. Anyway. So guys, we're almost
Wait
done.
a minute. We've had show notes? All this time we've had show notes? Why haven't you sent them to me?
Oh, he sent them to you. You just don't read them, and that's why you have nothing to say when you come on here.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
I have nothing to say because I didn't watch the show we talked about.
We know.
Yeah, I mean, the audience knows, you know. I'm not even sure why you're still on the show, if I'm being honest. But hey, you're here, and
it's called persistence.
It's called.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
No,
I'm hoping I get tortured. I'm hoping I get tortured enough.
A glutton.
Yeah, you're just a glutton, and you want to know who else was persistent?
Dennis Satterfield.
No, Bill Cosby, but he went to prison for that persistence.
Jesus,
so I feel like
Christ.
Wow, he went there. Wow.
So anyway, this is the penultimate episode, guys, and we're actually going to be talking about Dave Chappelle's The Closer. So if you haven't seen Dave Chappelle's The Closer,
don't do spoiler alert, please don't.
Why?
Again, how long has it been out? No, fuck it.
Okay, if you haven't seen Dave Chappelle's The Closer or anything Dave Chappelle related, really, then go watch those things. Stop the podcast right now and go watch those things and come back and listen, because we are going to talk about Dave Chappelle, The Closer, and just all the kind of topics that circle that. And so I guess that means if you're Juan, we'll see you in an hour. And thanks for just being on the Zoom call. I guess I don't think I have much more for you, Juan. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So with that said, Juan, did you watch Dave Chappelle's The Closer?
Why ruin a good thing, Sean? I mean, we have a good dynamic going on. Why start now? I mean, you have a set expectation of my lack of participation, and I have a set of expectation of your guys' participation. So why ruin it?
Because I don't know if you know this, but typically when we do this show, there's a level of engagement that's expected. And I don't think you understand what your level of engagement is. That's what I think.
Listen, we all have roles to play. And I've already established that.
You let baby dick ghost in your mouth.
There you go. There it is. There it is. You haven't established who you are, Juan.
So, and Jay, have you seen The Closer? Have you seen The Closer?
I have, yes.
No, did you watch it once? Did you watch it once? Or you watched it a few times?
I've watched it 3 times.
Okay, I watched it. Oh, I didn't. I watched it one time and then I listened to it another time. And then what I did was I went back through one of my first introductions to Dave Chappelle, which was Killing Me Softly or Killing Them Softly. I can't remember what it's called. And I listened to that comedy special.
Wow, that's an old one.
Yeah, it's really old. And the contrast in his comedy is kind of crazy. But for those who are listening who decided to skip all that stuff and just want to get into the show, We're talking about Dave Chappelle, who is a comedian. He's been doing comedy since the age of 14. My first interaction with him, the first time I ever seen him on screen was in The Nutty Professor, the one with Eddie Murphy, as a comedian with a little tuft of like dreadlocks on top of his head. You guys remember Reggie Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the comedians who was making fun of Eddie Murphy when he was in his big fat suit.
Yeah.
I am surprised you didn't mention Half Baked.
Well, if you were listening, Juan, as it seems you were not, I said my first interaction with Dave Chappelle was in The Nutty Professor. So thank you for keeping.
You know what? I'm gonna trump that. And the first time I saw Dave Chappelle on the silver screen was Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh,
holy shit!
I didn't know that he was in that movie. If I'm being honest,
he played Morgan. He played the parody version of Morgan Freeman's character from the Robin Hood movie.
That was him?
Yeah.
That is.
Holy fuck, man.
Let's see. How long ago was that? Let's man. But Juan, when was your first interaction with Dave Chappelle? When was it?
Half Baked. That's the one and only movie aside from the Dave Chappelle show that I remember him from.
Man, and it's that's from 1998. 1998.
Yeah. In fact, I think I got introduced to the Dave Chappelle show first, and then I watched Half Baked.
You mean Chappelle Show?
Yeah, the Chappelle show. Thank you.
Or the Dave Chappelle show, according to Juan. And so Dave Chappelle's been around for a very, very long time. Has been doing comedy for a really, really long time, and yes, and he gained the most notoriety, I think, from he became a part of pop culture when he had debuted.
Went crazy?
No, when he had debuted the Chappelle Show on Comedy Central. It was in very much the vein of his style of comedy, and it was very edgy, and it touched on a lot of different things. And the very first sketch was Clayton Bixby.
Yes,
the blind, the black race, the black blind racist.
Yeah, the Klans member.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite skits, man.
That is
that and the Charlie Murphy stories.
Well, yeah, those sketches put Dave Chappelle on the map as like a force to be reckoned with, and someone who was willing to take risk and really kind of put racism on display in a funny way. And it was those kinds of sketches that I think I remember, that most people remember most. Now fast forward to the closer, or fast forward, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. There's a whole lot of stuff that happens in between then. As Juan already alluded to, Comedy Central approaches Dave Chappelle to do another season, a third season of the Chappelle Show, and he says no.
Well, he originally said yes. And then they were, I think they were in production, and then he left, and he just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
well, it wasn't just that. Didn't he speak about not having that drive anymore because didn't Comedy Central want to have a little bit more control over his show as well?
I don't know. Where'd you get that information from?
I think it was one of the interviews he had after he came back from Africa. I think it was the Oprah Winfrey interview.
That's probably the biggest interview he did after he had come back.
Yeah. And I think he mentioned about why he went to Africa, why he gave it up. And it was, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't, he somewhat lost the passion, and he didn't just want to go in there and not make a quality show. And I think the pressure was on him that the first 2 seasons or 3 seasons were such home runs that
the first 2 seasons, Juan, of the Chappelle Show were driven by Dave Chappelle. The third season is where, and have you seen the third season of Chappelle Show?
The lost episodes?
Yeah. It is not as good as season 1 and season 2 of the Chappelle Show at all.
Well,
not even by a little bit.
Dave Chappelle tells a story about that third season. They were filming a sketch, and it was racially charged, like as a racially charged sketch, and I think one of those sketches is in that lost season episode where there was Dave Chappelle plays this like pixie, this blackface pixie, or whatever, or like, I don't know, some like angel devil, like little racist caricature. And one of the, like, they were filming it, and one of the like white crew members was laughing like too hard at that character. Like where to the point where it was like he was laughing at that depiction of that, character where like Dave Chappelle felt uncomfortable like doing that character, and he felt uncomfortable getting those types of laughs, where it kind of like fueled this like negative perception of Black people, and he didn't want to do that type of show where like he said he was like letting his people down, and it's just like making Black people look worse, and that's one of the reasons why he left. He left like $50 million from Comedy Central.
$53 million.
And where are you getting that number from?
Didn't he say it in his in the special when he was telling the story? And he's like,
"Well, I mean, I don't know if I can believe you since you said you didn't watch it because we had a good thing going."
Yeah, he said he left $50 million on the bus and he walked. That was in the special.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. 53. I don't know.
Listen, I just watched the episode about an hour ago or 2 hours ago, so it's pretty fresh in my mind.
If you say so.
We all know Ligma has gotten to me, and I don't.
No Ligma jokes tonight.
Yeah. So yes. So Dave Chappelle, yes, he gains even more notoriety from walking away from Comedy Central. He walks away from probably one of the most successful shows, comedy shows, sketch shows that had ever been made, and then he disappears into obscurity, and he goes to Africa, as famously told. And then he returns, and he starts doing like shows, and I think he said in Seattle where he would just put up like a speaker and some seats, and he would just go and do comedy. And then he would show up at random clubs and do comedy, and like people would just let him on because he's Dave Chappelle. And again, he had become this ghost almost of like, hey, you hear Dave Chappelle did a show over there? Until now, I think Dave Chappelle has appeared like he is now at this on this pedestal where every comedian kind of holds him in high regard because of A, the kind of comedy he was able to perform, B, because he retained his integrity throughout all of that, and then he came back and he was telling those stories very openly and very publicly about his trials and tribulations and how he bounced back from that. And then most recently, one of the most notable things is that he got Viacom, I think, who owned the rights to Chappelle Show, to pay him a whole bunch of money for using the Chappelle Show.
Yeah. Well, he tells this story in one of his shorter specials that he did. Unforgiven. Yeah, he talks about how when he originally pitched Chappelle Show, he went to HBO and he pitched them the Chappelle Show, and they told him, "Why do we need you?" And he didn't get Chappelle Show on HBO. So Comedy Central picked it up. It became successful all these years later, and now HBO Max was going to stream it. Was going to stream the show that he pitched to them. And he was like, why do you need me? Like all these years later, I pitched you this show, it became successful, and now you want to go on your streaming service and stream the show that I pitched to you that became successful. And he didn't have the rights to his own show, because he signed a contract. He signed a contract, and it just waived his rights to anything regarding that show. So he had to publicly demand for the fans to boycott Chappelle Show. So
Yeah, and it worked, and it got him into the conversation. It got him into the room with the right people to help him get the rights back to his material and his stuff, which I think ultimately is the right thing to do. But it's one of those things that that typically, and there's a little snippet on YouTube that Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle talk about this exact thing, where it's like when you're an artist and you are in the world and you're taking these deals and you're signing contracts, you are typically not on the winning end of that deal. There are many more people in that line of succession that are getting more money than you. And you're really just kind of like along for the ride, making more money than you had before, but they hold on to your rights. They hold on to basically all the things that make it yours. Another, and not to get too off topic, but another person that has also been victim to that, but has also beat that system is Taylor Swift. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Juan, I didn't realize you were so passionate about Taylor Swift.
I went down the rabbit hole and didn't realize what she did, but she lost her catalog of music to the record company, and now she's going to re-record the records. The short story is that there's two clauses. There are two things. There's the masters to the recordings, and then there's masters to the composition of the songs. Well, record companies own the masters of the recordings. She owns the compositions, which means that she can record those songs as many times as she wants and record them. And so now if you ever see a Taylor Swift song that says Taylor's version, exact same song, just re-recorded by Taylor Swift.
That's insane.
And essentially every time she re-records it, the masters lose value.
Yeah, and that's another artist to beat the system. But anyway, So Jay, I'm actually very interested to hear your opinion on this topic because, as people may know and who listen to the show, that you're a comedian, and so I'm just kind of curious, like, what your view on Dave Chappelle's take is, and do you take any part of his comedic style into your style, or and how you do that?
Well, I'm pretty biased. I love Dave Chappelle. I've followed his career for a long time. I've watched every special that he's done, every little thing on YouTube, every little stand-up thing that he's done on YouTube, I've seen it. I love his style. I love the way he thinks, so watching The Closer, I'm totally biased. I loved it, from beginning to end. I don't have my feelings hurt. It wasn't targeted at me. But I understand as a comedian, like, there are things that people are going to get upset, just the mere like mention of a premise, people will get upset and they won't look at the joke any further than just the shallow level of just the topic or the premise. And they won't like see what he's actually talking about.
Yeah. Now, that kind of begs the question. Now, when you write your jokes, when you get ready to do your stand up, do you censor yourself? Do you go, "Oh, I shouldn't talk about that," or do you say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna talk about it," and hopefully the crowd takes it as a joke?
Well, I mean, if you censor yourself, then you're not really expressing your art to the fullest, because you're always editing yourself to pander to what you think the audience is gonna like, and that's not the way that any good comedian should try to construct jokes. Like, if you want to construct a good joke, you just kind of go out there with your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings on something. You try to talk it out and you try to make it funny, regardless of whether the audience is going to be offended or not. You just have to try it out there. I mean, that's what comedy is all about. You're just kind of like trying jokes out, see if it works, like you're treading this line. It's a tightrope. You're on this tightrope, and you're trying not to fall a lot of times.
So do you think that? Like, if any other, because we were texting back and forth about getting ready for to this episode, and Juan was like, "Do you think they're going to pull the special from Netflix?" And you go, "No, they tried to pull this last one too."
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think that his intention for the special was to offend the LGBT community. I mean, they might take it that way, but I think a lot of him poking at this community in particular is that you just can't do it. And as a comedian, you should be able to discuss what you want to talk about what you want to talk without like fear of being canceled or being pulled. Like, he makes that whole argument about DaBaby and his like the stuff that he said on stage about the LGBT community, and and he contrasts that where like he got canceled for that, but he shot someone in a Walmart in North Carolina, and nothing bad happened to his career. Like,
well, so I did a little more research into that to kind of figure out, like, why didn't anything bad happen to this guy, DaBaby? First of all, I don't even know who DaBaby is.
I don't know either.
But I was curious why. I'm like, why didn't anything happen? And so then I found a YouTube video of the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne was talking about it. And he's like, well, the thing is that it was proven that was in self-defense. So it wasn't really like a clear cut thing of like this guy going out there shooting somebody. But to and again, this is something that Juan and I talked about off air. It's something that that cancel culture does, which is like, if you were a horrible person, I believe Juan calls it a caterpillar, and then you become a beautiful butterfly. You're out there flying around. You're pollinating plants. You're changing the world. You're doing good things.
This example wasn't my example. I heard it from somebody else.
And cancel culture finds out that you were a caterpillar. Then they fuck you, butterfly. I don't care how much good you're doing. You were once a caterpillar, and you're never going to be able to recover from that. So I cancel you. And so my point with all this is that, Jay, do you think that if any other comedian had released this special, that it would still be on Netflix? If this were Chris Rock or Joe Rogan even, or Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy himself, do you think that any one of those comedians could have withstand this sort, and even have the support of those networks behind them?
Well, it just depends on the popularity of the comedian. Like if the comedian's making money off of the special, why would they pull it? Like they have a fan base. They have people that are going to watch it, regardless of the people that don't like it. Like I don't think Fluffy would be able to get away with it.
No,
they would take Fluffy's special down if that's what he was talking about, because that's not in his character. That he hasn't established that he's that type of comedian. Like Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, they're mostly controversial type comedians where they have established themselves as these guys are going to go up on stage. They say these things about these topics, and like you should know better.
The one thing that I have to say about the special is, and I'm treading lightly because I don't want to get canceled, or I don't want people to come after me for
what I'm. I'll deal with them.
Well, we have to be on. We have to be on to be canceled.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything controversial from his last special. It was very much it's jokes. Don't punch down on me. If I only hate one group of people, it's white people. It was all based off his experiences, life. He's not saying anything homophobic, nothing against them. Now, I didn't see the other one, Sticks and Stones. Is that the name? Where he got all the backlash, but this one was like very touching, and he even addressed the fact that his friend that was transgender, that he gave an opportunity in San Francisco, killed themselves 2 weeks after they defended Dave Chappelle on Twitter. And then he makes a joke about that. And I thought that was a beautiful moment, especially when people kind of didn't know if they should laugh. And he was like, and she would have loved that fucking joke. So fuck you guys. I don't know. It just made me go, he has a valid point. When is enough going to be enough? Don't punch down on him.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, Juan, because Jay mentions that you can't be afraid to address the topics, and Dave has a very impressive ability to tell a story and build a narrative and use comedy to relieve the tension. And it's funny because when you watch The Closer, there are some very angry people right in the front row. They're like he'll make some jokes and they're very
those two ladies.
Yeah. They are not having it. And I go, why did they even buy a ticket? Why did they even buy a ticket? But
they stick out like a sore thumb, dude.
Yeah.
But hey, my favorite joke is when that lady came at him in the parking lot and was upset about the fact that he said all these things, and he's like, bitch, I know you didn't pay for one of my shows. I know you didn't do this. Why are you watching me? Like, if you don't agree with me, why are you watching me?
Dude, you seriously butchered his joke.
Yeah, you did.
I know, I did. And I'm not known for the greatest memory, but that was my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah, it's true. And so the other thing, though, is that, so like I told you, because I went and I watched Killing Them Softly. And I just was listening to the difference in how he told his jokes and how he got his point across. And then there's a point that Jay put in the show notes and Juan just made, which is that, Dave, if you listen to Dave and hear his stand up, his problem has always been white people,
Yeah.
and even going back all the way to, I think that special came out in 2000.
Yeah.
It is about systemic racism, police brutality, and the system's ability to cover that up. But it's told in so much lighter of a fashion than his last 3 specials that you kind of don't even recognize him as a comedian anymore.
And that's probably the biggest issue that people have, because he's developed his comedy so well that you don't know what he's joking about and what he is trying to make a point, all in all his comedy specials are jokes. They're all humorous stories. They're all, you take it with a grain of salt, like he does a joke about, like after he got coronavirus, he hadn't felt this dirty since he was molested by a preacher. And then he says that he liked it because, he came in the guy's face. And that's so ridiculous and it's a joke, but people get offended because they think, oh, that's just something that happened in his life. That's an awful thing, but
yeah. And then literally moments after that, he swings again. He dovetails into a serious topic of the violence that broke out against Asian Americans.
Yes.
And then he goes, well, I imagine that's what was going on inside my body.
Yeah.
We're talking about, because he felt like, because he got coronavirus. He was very open about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was waiting to see how sick he would get. He's like, oh, I didn't get that sick at all. So again, it's just something that's so ridiculous and so outlandish. You go, you would think it's something you'd be able to laugh about. However, there are people out there upset about that because, he's bringing it is a sensitive subject, and there's lots of people who have suffered in that. But, Dave has shown himself to not have any regard about talking about serious topics. It's almost to say, if we don't talk about it, then we're sweeping it under the rug and we're letting it happen more because we're not creating awareness around it.
Yeah, it's turning a blind eye to serious things that happen in life. We need to tackle it head on and have a discussion about it, or it's just going to get worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so literally before we started the show, it hit me. I was like, Dave did a special. Yeah, so I watched this special, and it's called 846. Juan, are you familiar with this special?
Tell me what 846
He
is.
talks about George Floyd, right?
Yeah. It's George Floyd. And it started out I want to say that his mission in putting this show on 846 was to genuinely give people something to do in the middle of the pandemic, at probably the worst point when people were stuck at home. There was nothing going on. Restaurants are still closed. And then the George Floyd thing happens, and I feel like his narrative for that entire thing just changed. He's on stage with his little notebook of jokes probably and outlines for stuff that he was planning on doing, but it completely dovetails into again another talk from Dave Chappelle about systemic racism and how if we don't talk about it, it's only going to let people know that it's okay. And then he dovetails into other things too, George Zimmerman,
the guy that shot the
Trayvon Martin, the guy who shot Trayvon Martin, even the guy in the military who went on the run and the police had shot and killed because he had reported one of his fellow officers abusing their power. So Dave, again, as I mentioned before, Dave Chappelle he is not uncomfortable about bringing those topics up. And although people did seem a little more comfortable in that special than this one, than they did in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Juan, it's fresh in your mind. It's fresh in your mind about...
You're going to mock the fact that I said that. Go ahead.
It's fresh in your mind, the special. Did you have any overarching messages you took away from it?
Yeah, my biggest thing is people need to understand what art is. I mean, it was a joke. He's not coming out as inciting violence towards a group of people. He's not coming out as belittling a group of people for the sake of it. I mean, this special made me go, he's basing it off his own stories. He even joked about the fact of a transgender individual giving him a hug and then him going, "Get away from me! I'm homophobic." Remember?
Hey, are you?
Yeah.
Did you go to school to learn to be a butcher, or you just a natural talent?
It's a skill set. It's a natural skill set.
Okay.
But no, in all honesty, I think I mentioned it to you, but this special made me like him even more, and I want to see what the big deal was for Sticks and Stones, the one that triggered everybody to want to cancel him.
Well, I think you just touched on it. You literally just you butchered it to the best of your ability. Like Jay said, like Jay mentioned, you know, that story about the priest, it's a self-deprecating tale about himself, right? That paints him, and it's ridiculous, and right, it's ridiculous. And then, you know, he'll tell a story about how he is best friends with a transgender person, and then he'll receive a hug from them and go, "Get away from me." It's supposed to be absurd. It's supposed to show you the absolute absurdity of what he is saying, and that's the joke. That is the joke. But he often makes himself the victim, and there's often, because he's if he is victimizing anybody, it is himself, and the comedy comes from that. And so, like, you know, I get to the end of the special, and I get to the end of the special, and I go, again, like when I go, I don't see what the big deal was. However, you know, I'm not in any of the categories that were feeling that they were attacked. Other than being African American, that is really kind of the only the only thing that I'm writing here. And even then, again, I don't feel like, you know, anything.
Well, I mean, Dave Chappelle makes a point. You know, everything's funny till it happens to you. You know, that's what he said. You know, and that's very true. Every joke has someone that you're making fun of. You know, so someone is a victim in the joke. You know, whether it be himself and doing self-deprecating humor, or he's pointing out hypocrisies or certain things that people do that don't make sense. You know, those become the victims in the jokes. But every joke, every funny joke, there has to be someone who's, you know, getting shitted on. You know,
yeah, there needs to be a wand in every joke. That is just how it goes.
You know, this comedy special made me tear up at the very end because of the overall message when he's like, "And I hope to be alive when this little girl, the daughter of the transgender individual that killed himself."
Daphne Dorman.
Yeah. I didn't know the name. Sorry.
He says it in the special.
Again, that you watched 2 hours ago.
I have the memory of a goldfish sometimes.
But it's fresh in your mind.
Okay. When he tells their daughter, not now, but when he's ready to have the conversation, "I knew your father, and he was one hell of a mother, of a woman."
Please stop butchering Dave Chappelle's jokes.
God, Dave.
No, but
I want 24-ounce ribeye steak on the bone, please. Thanks, Juan. Yes, it was a very touching message, and again, it speaks to how he tells his jokes. And again, you know, just like Jay said, when you're telling jokes, you have to make fun of somebody. Is the punchline, somebody, some place. And so, you know, in this scenario, he is absolutely outlining the idea that, like, this person is living their individual life, doing their thing that is important to them, and he understands that, and he is respectful of that. But that's not what he believes. So, you know, why are you, in his words, punching down on him? You know, because he doesn't believe 100% what you believe. That's like, you know, I don't believe that Juan watched this special 2 hours ago. Am I punching down on you, Juan?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the most controversial things that he says in the special is what he agrees with J.K. Rowling. What J.K. Rowling said about gender.
Yeah.
You know, J.K. Rowling said that gender is a fact, and he agrees with that statement. You know, and there's this uproar with that. It's like, how could he take a stance on that? This is insane. You know,
yeah. I list again. The Breakfast Club are doing their piece again, talking about Dave Chappelle and J.K. Rowling, and they actually brought up the exact quote. And of course, I don't remember it because my mind's not fresh. Juan, I didn't watch it 2 hours ago. But yes, just like Dave Chappelle said, she effectively said that gender is a fact, and he agreed with her. And then he goes on to say that every person in this room needed to pass through the legs of a woman in order to be here on Earth. So, like, you know, so how can you debate that? But then he goes on to say, "There's like, you know, I'm gonna butcher the shit out of this right now. I'm sorry for taking your job. I'm not saying to say that, you know, these women are not women, but those vaginas they got, well,
you know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
That's such a great punchline. It's like, you know what I mean? You know, and then
I think compares it to Impossible or beyond burgers. It's like, you know, it's again, he's like, is that saying that's not it, but it's just not.
It's almost like if you told the child what you know, a transgender woman's vagina was like, and he was like, and then he was trying to explain it back. And, you know, it's like, well, it's, you know, kind of, you know what I mean?
It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of, who knows? It's an enigma. But so then, you know, the special happens. He says that, and not only that, but he says that he compares transgender genitalia to substitute meat products, right?
Yeah, Impossible.
And then. And then he says, or beyond, And he mentions that, and he says he agrees with J.K. Rowling that gender is a fact, and he agrees with that. And so, you know, then the internet is in an uproar. In fact, the employees at Netflix are in an uproar about it. And so, a team member who worked at Netflix led a walkout there, led a walkout for the trans team members there, and. According to the article I'm looking at here, and I can't see where it's from, they were fired. They were fired for leading it. Oh, it's from TheVerge.com, which is a tech website. But they were fired for leading that walkout. Now, whether you believe that is right or not, whether you believe it's not right or not, it is the kind of thing that I think Dave Chappelle is exactly talking about in his special, which is that, you know, you have this section of people, and it creates this huge wave when there are other walks of life, other folks out there who have been going through all kinds of different things throughout their entire life, and you can barely get any momentum moving in any direction whatsoever. So it's like, you know, he makes a joke about it where he has some trans women who are gonna fight some gay guys, and I can't remember, but you know, who talk about how the trans movement has been oppressed, and they are talking to Black gay men about being oppressed, you know? So again, it's like, you know, whether you believe that Netflix is right or wrong in doing this, is just that to say that there's a movement here that is looking to cause a ruckus, looking to remove any obstacle out of their way, and they are getting traction. And most of that is pardon to the power of the internet.
Yeah. I mean, the internet, you know, as fast as it's so crazy, you know, like as fast as like the information that you don't want to get out there gets out there really fast, you know, and like us, we're trying to make content and get it out to people. It's a slow trickle to get out to people, but like really bad information and like things that put people in negative light, that goes out there like lightning. Because people love controversy. They love like, oh, we can talk about this, and you know, now we can band together, and you know, we can stop something, and
yeah, and it's the power of the hashtag. Now, before I move on to the next topic, it's so Netflix backs Dave Chappelle. They basically say, you know, it's in the vein of art, and you know, we support Dave Chappelle, and so we're going to leave the special up. But like I was saying, it's the power of the hashtag. It's a generation of people who fully and wholeheartedly believe that if they can just end any person's career, they can just go, oh, you know what? I don't like Juan anymore because he never watches anything, even though he says it's fresh in his mind. Well, he's canceled now. That's it. It's done. It's over.
I did fucking watch it.
And well, Bill Clinton said that he didn't have sexual relations with that woman, but here we are. So
I still believe that statement.
You're canceled, Jay.
Well, but it's the power of the hashtag. But here's the thing: the power of the hashtag has brought a lot of awareness to some things that people may have never even known existed. One of the notable ones, and again, I'm like rifling through your show notes, Jay, but the Me Too movement. It started with on Twitter with the hashtag, which is, I don't know if you guys know this, but Twitter is the king of all social media platforms now.
Twitter is not a real place.
Twitter is not a real place, according to Dave Chappelle, as told by Dave Chappelle,
who is a feminist.
Yeah, yes, he is. Yes, he is. But
I gotta say that I love that bit. When like he starts with the Webster's definition of a feminist.
Yes.
He says, he's a human being that, is fighting for equal rights for all women, and then he considers himself a feminist, and he goes into, and this is such a great writing where he goes into the misdirect where, he just didn't like how the Me Too movement was handled, these women should have gotten off the bus, like he got off the bus and left $50 million on that bus. And then like the Me Too movement was like, we're going to wear black dresses or, stuff like that. And then he goes, what the Me Too movement needs is a male leader, and then he volunteers himself. And then he goes on to say that, under me, I'm going to make sure that every woman has equal pay, like they won't be harassed in any way. And then all he asks is that you suck my dick, All
I ask is return. Yeah. And then he goes, and now we're back at square one. And now we're back at square one because he is talking about how, they should have got off the bus, because if they had gotten off of the bus, they could have exposed like people like Harvey Weinstein a lot earlier. They could have stopped the process that would give people in his position anonymity to do the things that they're doing, and by not doing that. And so again, like it's a great little bit. Again, it's one of the things that is making an absolute point that is 100% valid. But again, it is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And so by drawing the parallel and comparison, and then creating something absurd that happens afterwards, it makes the joke. It makes the joke, but also makes people upset because I guess maybe he's probably right.
Well, I mean, they take these jokes in a literal sense. They take it, at face value, and it's like, oh, that's his intention. Like, no, it's just a joke.
Yeah, it was just a joke to highlight the absurdity of their position and the lack of true movement that is happening for them.
It was such an interesting topic where he essentially mentions, don't forget, I'm rich. I don't care. And I'm happy where I live. I live in a small town. Nobody cares what I fucking do. I don't care. It's a joke.
Well, the joke he was making is that, he's rich. It's so the problems he's talking about, they're not necessarily all of his problems, because when the police stop him, he's Dave Chappelle now. So you know what I mean? He's talking about the other part of the community that's not Dave Chappelle, that are still African American people driving around in cars, that are living that way. So he makes that point to say, I'm rich, man. These aren't necessarily all my problems. I'm just shining a light on it, because if I don't, nobody will. But yes, the power of the hashtag. Juan, now you threw your hands up when I mentioned that, because it sounded like you were hashtag triggered over it.
Yes. I think I'm just getting tired of the power of social media. I think I'm just frustrated that it takes what people think is a majority to make something go away when it's not necessarily the majority.
Example?
Yes, the quiet game. That is a thing that should go away.
I was talking to this to somebody the other day. I didn't generally care about the whole Latinx movement. I had no issue. I get it why it has to change, but don't be putting fucking words in my mouth and stating that Latinos don't, or Latinas or Latinx don't like to be called that because it's not gender neutral. I don't know. It bugged the shit out of me, and it bugs the shit out of me that people continue to push and people continue to cancel or not see art for art, or where is it going to stop? I mean, are people going to start canceling the David because he's showing his penis and it makes people uncomfortable?
Oh, you mean the statue of David?
Yeah.
I was like David Letterman, David Hasselhoff.
It's like, which David is out there showing his penis to everybody?
David Duchovny. Oh, he's the one out there showing his dick to people. And that's right.
Mulder?
That Mulder dick over there. I'll make you a believer. You circled around a great point, which is again, and it's about identity and representation, and having the ability to share that with the world on some sort of platform in a way that is unimpeded. So yes, maybe they are shoving those beliefs down your throat. But again, and these are some more words of Dave Chappelle, which is, okay, fine, go out and live your life and do your things. But how much do I have to participate in how you want to live your life?
Did you know that it's not acceptable to say African American anymore?
Well, I don't think you've called me that ever. So sure.
No. But did you know that it's not acceptable anymore?
Says who?
Yeah, says what? The guy you just what? Mm-hmm.
I was corrected when I described somebody as an African American gentleman, and someone corrected me and they said they're black. And I go, I thought it was politically correct to say African American. He's like, no, because you don't know if they're from Africa. They identify as black. And I'm like, so I'm being insensitive by calling someone African American. And they essentially said yes. So I'm not keeping up with the times, and now I have to watch what I say every single time.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are just afraid to, call black people black. Like
it's true. It's true. It's most people assume that calling a black person black is like using the N-word, which is not the case at all. I will say that I am not offended at all. However, I am just one black person on this show. Who correct that's anyway, it doesn't matter. But again,
a white person corrected me. Me. Yes.
Well,
listen. I'm not going to say that they were necessarily the authority on the subject matter, but it is what it is. But again, as I was saying, I think you are getting around a important topic of identity and recognition and being able to control what that is, right? And how that is perceived by the public. And so when you talk about the Latinx movement, it's about a group of people who want identity and want to control what that identity is to the public eye. And so, Dave Chappelle's special is about that. It's about the trans community trying to control what that looks like, but not just trying to control what it looks like. They're trying to control everyone's opinion of it. So it's like, yeah, okay, fine, be whoever you want as a trans American, but I want you to believe the things that I believe about it because my beliefs are right. No, but I mean, like, there are other people in the world who would be believed to have tyrannical beliefs like that, where you need to believe what I believe because what I believe is the right thing, and if you don't believe it, then you're wrong. But Dave Chappelle makes that comparison. I want to say in his last special, Sticks and Stones, that is the internet. That is the internet. If you don't believe what I believe, then you're canceled. That's it. You're done. So
it's funny because like people act like what he did was a TED Talk.
Yeah.
It's a comedy special. Like it's in the end. I mean, it's all jokes. They're all, it's all meant to entertain. A part of it, I know. I feel like Dave Chappelle wanted like people to think about the things that he said. But all in all, like his main objective for the whole special was to entertain. You know, make light of like really heavy topics.
Yeah.
And just make people laugh for a good hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, so not those two ladies in the front. They had the worst time.
They were not having it at all.
Yeah.
What's the point of going to his show if you know you're not going to like it? Is it to make a statement?
Probably.
Well, yeah. I mean, the statement would be, I went, because, they're probably the folks who go, no, I was there. It was absolutely horrible. So that they get to mark that off on their credit list. It's like, I went to the show. I didn't laugh at anything. It was absolutely horrible. I don't think he's a good comedian. We should cancel him. They sat there and endured that because it was. Yeah,
everybody thinks they're like, this movie critic or like a critic on life, and what their opinion is like gold.
Yeah, it's true, and social media doesn't help that, and cancel culture doesn't help that either. It feeds into the idea that if you don't believe what I believe, then I can end you. And if you're someone like Dave Chappelle, where again he said taking away a man's livelihood is akin to killing him. His livelihood is his comedy, and Jay has said it before that if a comedian cannot do comedy, it is painful. It's something that they want to do, that they are itching to do. So to not be able to do that, to try and take that away from him, is akin to killing him.
Back in the day when like Lenny Bruce and George Carlin were doing this like radical type of comedy, most comedians, they were doing like old vaudeville acts, like these one-liners and old story jokes that were told from comedians that just went up on stage, did these like safe TV friendly jokes. And then Lenny Bruce would talk about society, he would talk about race and religion and politics. And George Carlin, when he dropped his like hippy dippy weatherman type of image, and he started doing like coffee houses and like all these alternative venues. Same thing with like Richard Pryor. He would talk about like race and politics and religion and women and like men and black people, white people. Lenny Bruce got arrested for obscenity when he was on stage. George Carlin got arrested for the things that he said on stage for, obscenities. I feel like we're headed in that direction with like cancel culture, where you're not allowed to say certain things on a public platform, because people are just going to be so offended that they're just going to be like, well, we should get the authorities involved and have him arrested for obscenities and inciting public discord.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because like I didn't learn about George Carlin. Like I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was a comedian. And
shut the fuck up.
Are you going to interject a correction, or are you going to add content somehow, or did you just want to stop me from talking?
I'm going to let you finish talking.
Oh, okay, great. Because what I was trying to get to is that when I was introduced to George Carlin, it was on Shining Time Station with Thomas the Tank Engine, which is akin to having your first impression of Bob Saget be Danny Tanner from Full House. I would say even cleaner than that. So when I heard George Carlin refer to his penis as Winky the One-Eyed Wonder Worm, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And so, yeah, I think you're right, Jay. I think, if we keep dovetailing in this direction, cancel culture, the culture of the internet, is going to put us in this tailspin where artists can't be artists anymore. Because
not publicly. They'll still be underground stuff where people are going to flock to it.
I was just going to ask, do you think
it's going to turn into a prohibition type of a style, where you're going to have speakeasy type of clubs where people are going to convene to see these artists perform?
And I think we get into a dangerous territory there, right? Because then, it sounds like segregation, if you ask me. But don't ask the black guy. Don't ask the black guy about it.
Listen here, mister.
Yeah, it's just, but I think you're right, Jay, and I think you're right, Juan, that it'll devolve into that, and because that'll be the only place that you as an artist can express yourself, and then they will always be those artists who then have to ride the line of like popular success versus oh my God, versus less
artistic,
mainstream. Yeah,
artistic integrity.
Yeah, versus and I'm trying to, back in the mid 2000s or early 2000s, there was the underground rap scene where, and I don't know how closely you guys follow it, but Mos Def is probably was from in the underground scene. He's probably one of the most famous rappers around, but publicly he was not in the mainstream conversation at all. At the time, it was Eminem. And Eminem was being played on every single station. He was even being played on K-Rock for no other reason than because he was white. So Mos Def didn't change anything to become partially in the mainstream light. He kept doing his thing and got more notoriety from being who he was. And so the people who loved him pushed him out there. Now he's not as famous as an Eminem still to this day, but he is a notable rapper of great talent.
He is.
Yeah. Sorry. No. Sorry. I thought Juan was gonna say something, but he was just putting his fingers in his mouth. Yes, I agree. Deep breath, sigh, indubitably.
Indubitably.
Yeah. So, do you guys have a favorite joke from the Chappelle special?
Yeah.
Juan, this is an audio podcast, so you nodding your head, yes. No one knows.
I think I've already said all my favorite jokes and I've butchered every single one of them, but I would like to hear your guys' favorite joke and then comment and say, yes, I love that one too.
I don't, you know what? The funny thing is that I think my favorite joke was that it was a running joke that he would go through the entire thing, talk about how close he would get to this trans person, that they would hug him, they would do something, and he was like, oh, but I'm transphobic, so I told him to get away from me. Which again, it just talks about the absurdity of what he's talking about, of how can you take that serious? But again, there's people out there that do that.
Now, saying those type of jokes and pointing out that he had a transgender friend, is that the equivalent to say, it's okay for me to say the N-word, my best friends are black? It's
funny because I think it was to draw a parallel that he wasn't saying it because he had a trans friend. He's saying it because these are the things that he believes, and he put this person on, gave an opportunity, despite that, because of their ability, their talent, their not because of who they were and what they believed.
I think he told that story, one, to make a point, and two, to kind of honor his friend and make a tribute to her, and just tell this nice, the story that he tells it's very funny, because she was a comedian and she opened for him, and he didn't know that she had only done stand-up for 8 times in her life.
Yeah.
And he said that she stunk it up for 45 minutes. And that was a running joke through that whole story. But it ended with a sweet ending, but it was very tragic.
Yeah. But again, I think he did it to make a point. Jay, do you have any favorite jokes that you haven't already mentioned?
I do. There was that joke where he got into this fight with this lesbian woman because he didn't know that she was a woman, and she was just in his face, back off, that's my girl, It's yo, my man, I didn't know. It's stop calling me a man, I'm a woman. And he's like,
word?
What?
Yeah. He's like,
and
what?
then he
Word?
said he looked in this person's cheekbones, and he's like, oh my God, you are a woman. and then they were gonna fight, and then she got into this perfect southpaw stance that he says. And then he said that she took a wild hook, and he said he slit that jab, and then he goes, well, I had to go to work. And he said he tenderized those titties like chicken cutlets. Which again is so absurd. It's another absurd joke but it's just so funny.
Yeah, I think in that same joke he goes, he's like, I realized she was getting upset. So I said it to her like a pimp would say it. Oh God. I said it soft so she knew. Oh man. God, and I can't remember what
he goes, bitch, I'm about to slap the shit out of you.
Oh God, yeah. And it was just, but again, it's that special is just great, man. And He said this would be his last special for a while. Which I think he's just kind of holding out in the bunker to wait for it all to go away before he pulls his little chair and speaker out and starts doing like random comedy shows again.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that he's out there working on the next one.
Yeah, and and going through some of his material, kind of like and doing a little research here. I realized that he had been working on some of these jokes for a while, like some of the stories I've been telling him for a while, and one of the ones who I had conflated at being in this special was the one that he told in Unforgiven, which is about him getting his joke stolen and trying to get his name back.
Yeah.
But it's again, I think Dave, he comes out, he's like a groundhog, he comes out and he comes out, well, only during when shit happens, when like some of the worst shit happens, he comes out and he talks about it and he tries to enlighten the people about it and drops some like real facts about stuff sometimes, and it's good to have someone like Dave Chappelle.
Which is great because, he in the end, he has the ultimate control of his career right now. Like he puts out stuff when he wants to put out stuff. He doesn't have to. He doesn't like besides Netflix. Like he's not. There isn't people that are saying, "Oh, you need to do this by this." Like he kind of works at his own pace. Puts stuff out when he wants to put stuff out.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess as an artist, you can't ask for anything better.
Yeah.
Juan, go ahead, Juan.
Do you really not think he's not going to go back to Ohio immediately and start just working his own little circuit?
What?
Like, I generally don't think that. I generally believe this is his last big special, but I don't think he's done with comedy. I think he's immediately going to go back and start doing the clubs or
we just said that.
I know. I get no, but you fuck you. You guys said it as if he's going to wait. I generally don't.
No,
think
I just said that I wouldn't be surprised that he's out there working on the next one right now.
No, I don't think he's going to do another special. I think he's just going to do clubs. I think he's just going to continue doing comedy for the love of comedy.
What do you think he's doing at those clubs?
Working on another special.
One,
but I honestly think he's just gonna do the clubs to do the clubs, not to work on another special.
Oh, that's not true.
I honestly think unless something changes drastically with our culture, I think he's generally not upset but hurt over the fact that people are taking his words and use his own thing, punching down on him.
I don't think he's hurt at all.
Yeah, I don't think you're listening to the special. I think he went out there clearly knowing that this was for entertainment purposes and that he said it's going to get worse because I'm, okay.
He's not holding punches.
Yeah. I don't think he was hurt. I don't think he's hurt, but okay.
If he didn't really care about it, then why even address it?
Well, because that's all people talked about in the last couple specials, like that's what they've been attacking him on Twitter, social media. It's just something that he's like, I need to get all this stuff out. I need to like squash this. And, like he ends the special and he says, I'm not going to do any more jokes about the LGBT community unless we're both laughing at the same thing. And honestly, there's so many other things that he can tackle, so many subject matters that are going to piss other people off that,
he has a pretty good list to work from. And I think, and I'm glad Jay brought that up because he kind of brought it full circle to say, the reason why he left Chappelle show is because he didn't feel like they were laughing with him. He felt like they were laughing at him. And so he says to the LGBTQ community, and I didn't get that right, but I want to make sure we're laughing together about this. I don't want you to feel like I'm making fun of you because, I'm making fun, but not of you. I want us to laugh together. So I don't think he's hurt Juan. I don't think he's upset, or I don't even think he's, I think he's just kind of waiting over the storm. He knows that his words are going to cause controversy and he's kind of waiting it out. And like Jay said, I think he's out there working on his next special, working out material. Why so sad? Why so sad, man?
I think it's just my own things of I'm finally realizing that the stuff that we laughed at in the past and we realized that there was a line in the sand saying, "This is just comedy. It's said in jest to be funny." We can't do that anymore. It's gone, and I don't think we're going to change it. I don't think cancel culture is going to go away. I think it's.
What are you talking about, dude?
You don't think so?
You can joke and laugh about anything you want. You know, like amongst your circle of friends, you can laugh about whatever. I mean, publicly, I don't think it's a good idea. Like,
so again, will then our circle of friends be judged by other people if it happens to?
I mean, the other people aren't inside those conversations.
No, but you know, there's always a way that people find out.
Sure. Yes. And you want to know how people find out? Doing shit like this, putting their conversations on the internet. That's how other people find out. I mean, the two people that are listening. Hi, Julio. Hi, Herbert. And the third person being Peter. Hey, what's going on, guys? You know, those are, you know, one, your inner circle, your people who know your innermost thoughts and innermost feelings. You know, how that stuff gets out is when they are in other circles of friends who don't believe those things. But also, in, like I said, scenarios like this where they are very vocal on social media. You know, I mean,
most people have said jokes that may have been inappropriate. You know, may have hurt other people's feelings. You know, like everyone was young at one point. We've said things that we didn't mean. It may not have been intentionally malicious. You know, at the time. You know, a lot of jokes for me. You know, is just, you know, having fun, you know, telling a joke and making light of something serious where for me, it's a coping mechanism where, you know, if I joke about it, then I can talk about it.
Yeah, it's you know, it's for me, it's akin to a meme that I read while I was browsing this site. And it said, you know, being funny at work is a delicate balance of being funny and inappropriate, but not so funny that you get sent to human resources. You know? It was such a true thing for like the world we live in today that I think that, yeah, you know, Juan, I think amongst your inner circle, you can tell those risque jokes, but you have to know your audience, understand what you're saying, and you know.
How long have you known me for? Have I ever been known for knowing my audience? Have I ever been known for having a filter?
Well, you've also been known not to be able to tell a joke. So, I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, you've been cut.
Or I've been known to butcher other people's jokes. So,
yeah, you did it all episode. Great, man. Yeah, so, yeah, you don't have a filter, but I mean, I would say that you're pretty filtered on this show. I mean, is there something you want to tell us, Juan? Oh, no? Okay.
Fuck you.
Okay then. So, you know, with that said, with that said, Juan, you didn't have a lot of fuck yous this episode, but you know, I'm gonna ask if you are done.
I guess I'm done.
I mean, Juan, I ask if you're done. Usually it's a stern yes. Fuck you. I'm ready to go. So is there some other thing you want to tell us about? Then I mean, this is it. This is your time. I won't cut it out at all.
No, I'm done. It's just it's a very disappointing done.
Why?
I think you guys already know how I feel about this whole cancel bullshit, and it just bothers me internally.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Well,
no,
Juan, I mean,
don't apologize. It's not you guys. It's just I understand changing with the times. I do. I just don't understand shitting on people or
Juan,
the minority or a large group that seems like the majority speaking for everybody, saying this is how we all feel.
Juan, you know anything about history? You know anything about that?
This is the world.
Yeah, it's been going on forever. It's if it's not this, it's you know, the Earth being flat. If it's not the Earth being flat, it's whether the Earth orbits the sun or the sun orbits the Earth. If it's not, you know, there's always something. There's always something. And I'm sorry you're so sad about just realizing that at the end of this episode.
No, it's not. You know, it's not something I've just realized. It's something that's bothered me since the first time we talked about it. Like, people just need to allow people to try to. And the thing is, Fuck you. I'm done.
I'm going to add some sad music here, and if you or someone you know has been affected by cancel culture, you should reach out to Juan Ledesma.
No, at some point, people have to start allowing individuals to parent and to.
Juan, yeah, I think everyone in this conversation understands exactly what you mean, but I think
Good, because I can't fucking express it with
Indubitably.
Yes, with
Indubitably.
Just say it with marbles in your mouth. We all get it, and it's we got to allow the world to do its thing. But with that said, I think I told you this last time, Juan. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay.
Yeah, dude, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
So with that said, Juan, I'm sorry they're so sad about it, but hey, that's the world we live in today. That's the TikTok challenge thing. What we'll end up doing. But with that said, everybody, what was your favorite Chappelle joke? Were you triggered by this comedy special? Tell us about it. We want to know. Juan, take it away.
Yeah, I'll take it away. Fuck you. Don't cancel us. No, folks, don't forget to like and subscribe us on iTunes. Rate us, comment, suggest us to your friends. Just show us around. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and my nemesis, Twitter, at INCYCSHOW. Also, you can email us your suggestions at INCYCShow@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail or comment at www.anchor.fm/INCYCShow. And don't forget, we used to have merchandise, not anymore because we're going to give it away. Sorry, Julio, you never bought it. But fuck you.
Yeah. We'll do an Instagram live to give that away. You'll have to deal with my stupid face to do that. Thank you, Juan. Have a good night. Don't get triggered. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
I'm already triggered.
Yeah, I know.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.